The first light of dawn filtered through the treetops, casting a soft glow over the small Chinese village. The birds' songs echoed through the cool morning air, and the aroma of freshly opened flowers mingled with the gentle breeze, creating a magical and serene atmosphere. It was a day like any other, but there was a palpable anticipation in the air, as if the village was about to witness something extraordinary. I, Lin, walked along the dirt path that led to the central square. My eyes were fixed on the wildflowers blooming alongside the way, their vibrant colors seeming to dance in the wind. The simple beauty of nature had always inspired me, but today, something inside me pulsed with an inexplicable anxiety. What could Master Wei have to tell us? He, a respected sage, was known for his deep reflections on life and the soul. His summons for a talk on the significance of birthday months had sparked the curiosity of everyone in the village. As I arrived at the square, I saw other villagers gathering. Zhang, the successful merchant, was there, his confident posture and determined gaze revealing his ambition. He was always looking for ways to increase his fortune, and I wondered if he was truly interested in the sage's wisdom or just in the possibility of gaining some commercial advantage. On the other side, I found Mei, the introspective healer. She had always had a special connection with nature, and her eyes reflected a curiosity that I admired. Lin, Zhang greeted me with a nod, the sun marking his facial features. Do you really believe that these talks from the master can teach us something useful? I don't know, Zhang, I replied, a bit hesitant, but I feel it could be important. Perhaps he has something to say about ourselves that we haven't realized yet. Mei approached, her gaze soft and contemplative. I think each of us can learn something. Our birthday months have meanings, right? Who knows? This might help us understand our paths better. Zhang laughed, a sound that seemed to echo through the square. Ancient beliefs and superstitions, Mei. I'd rather trust what I can see and touch. Success is built on hard work, not mystical teachings. The tension between us was palpable, but before we could continue the discussion, Master Wei appeared. He was a tall figure, with white hair and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of 1,000 lives. He wore a simple robe, but exuded a presence that immediately silenced the crowd. Everyone turned to him, and a wave of respect swept through the square. Dear villagers, he began, his voice soft like a summer breeze. Today, I come to talk about the birthday months. Each of you carries a month that is not just a mark on the calendar, but a deep reflection of your soul and your purpose in this life. I felt a shiver run down my spine. The Master's words resonated within me, vibrating with a truth I could not articulate. He continued, detailing how each month brings with it unique lessons and teachings. April, he said, looking directly at me, is a month of renewal, creativity, and freedom. Those born in this month have the responsibility to express their truths and bring beauty to the world. I felt exposed, as if the Master were reading my soul. There was a part of me that longed for this freedom, but also feared what it might mean. And as the Master spoke, I noticed Zhang squirming in his place, his expression of skepticism becoming increasingly evident. But not everyone is ready to receive these teachings, Master Wei continued with a penetrating gaze. Those who cling to material goods and power may lose themselves in the pursuit, ignoring what truly matters. Zhang frowned, clearly challenging the Master's words. I don't agree with that. What's wrong with seeking success and wealth? They are what sustain us, he murmured, almost to himself, but I heard him. Mei, beside me, seemed lost in her thoughts. She had always had a connection to the world around us, and I knew the lecture touched her deeply. For a moment, our gazes met, and I realized we shared the same unease. Master Wei went on, speaking about the other months and their characteristics. Each of you must reflect on your own journey, on how the cycles of life shape who you are. The birthday month is not just a date, it is an opportunity for self-discovery. The crowd began to murmur, some nodding in agreement, while others exchanged confused looks. The sun was now high in the sky, and the energy in the square was electric. I could feel the anticipation in the air, as if we were all about to discover something that would change our lives. When the talk came to an end, and the master bid farewell with a serene smile, a wave of conversation quickly took over the square. Zhang, with a disdainful look, turned to Mei and me. "Do you really believe these words have any value? Life is what we make of it, not what a sage says." "But what if what he said actually made sense?" I asked, a bit indignant. "We can't just dismiss it. There is something deeper within us that we need to explore." Mei nodded, her thoughtful expression. "I think what the master said can help us understand our own lives. What do you think, Lin? Do you feel connected to this idea of renewal and creativity?" I looked around the square, filled with familiar faces, each carrying their own stories and challenges. In that moment, a new hope was born within me. I wanted to explore this connection, discover what my birth month really meant, and how I could use it to bring more light to the world around me. As the crowd began to disperse, I knew that day would mark the beginning of a journey for all of us. And somehow, Master Wei's presence had ignited a flame within me, a flame I was determined to follow. Master Wei's lecture had ended, but the feeling of restlessness still lingered in the air, like the scent of flowers that does not easily dissipate. As the villagers started to disperse, I, Lin, could not help but let my mind wander. The wise man's words echoed in my mind, a subtle call urging me to seek more. My birth month, April, was mentioned as a time of renewal and freedom, and I wanted to understand how this applied to my life. I decided that I needed to speak with Master Wei. I got up from the square and headed toward his house, a small wooden structure surrounded by a vibrant garden where flowers of various colors danced in the wind. The atmosphere was serene, and each step brought me closer to the wisdom I so longed for. Upon arriving, I knocked gently on the door. Master Wei's voice, calm and deep, echoed from within. "Come in, Lin." As I entered, I was greeted by a soft light streaming through the windows, illuminating the faces of Buddha statues and the shelves filled with ancient books. The aroma of warm tea filled the air, creating a welcoming environment. "Master Wei," I began a bit hesitantly, "your words about the birth months deeply touched me. I would like to know more about what April represents for me." He smiled, his expression serene as always. "Ah, April, a month of flowers, of new beginnings. It is a time when nature renews itself, and also an opportunity for you to break free from the chains that bind you. How do you feel about that?" I thought for a moment. "I feel like I'm stuck in a cycle, Master. I want to find my purpose, but I don't know where to start." Master Wei observed me closely, as if reading the layers of my soul. "The search for purpose is an internal journey. Often, the freedom you seek lies in accepting who you are. What do you love to do?" "Paint," I replied, the passion for what I love beginning to shine in my heart. "But I feel like I'm not good enough. My paintings never convey what I truly feel." He nodded, as if he understood the struggle I faced. "Art is an extension of your soul. Don't worry about what others think. More important is how you express yourself. Free yourself from fear and allow your creativity to flow." His words resonated within me. The fear I felt, the doubt about my talent, were barriers I needed to overcome. "How can I do that, Master?" "Start painting without thinking about the result," he suggested. "Let the colors speak for you. Allow yourself to be vulnerable in your art." I thanked Master Wei, feeling that a new flame had been ignited within me. I left his house with a light heart, determined to explore this new perspective. Art, I realized now, could be my path to the freedom I so desired. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, Zhang was in his elegant office, surrounded by piles of goods and contracts. He had heard Master Wei's lecture, but his words did not touch him. Zhang was an ambitious man, and what truly mattered to him was success and power. With a skeptical look, he addressed one of his assistants. "Do you think these stories about birth months have any value? They're just superstitions, don't you think?" The assistant, a young man with a keen gaze, hesitated. "But sir, many in the village seem to believe in the master's words. He is respected for his wisdom." Zhang let out a disdainful laugh. "Wisdom? What does he know about real life? In the business world, what matters are results, not stories. If I want to be great, I need more goods and money, not poetic reflections." The assistant shook his head, but Zhang was unwilling to listen. He turned to his expansion plan map. "I will make sure my business empire grows. That is the only truth that matters." As Zhang lost himself in his thoughts of power, Mei, on the other hand, sought refuge in nature. After the lecture, she felt an urgent need to reconnect with her inner self. Walking along a leaf-covered path, she found a small lake, its waters reflecting the blue sky. She sat by the edge, closing her eyes and listening to the soft sound of leaves rustling in the wind. "What do you have to teach me, nature?" she whispered. "My month is January, and what does that mean for me?" Mei had always felt a special connection with nature, but she had never explored the deeper meaning of it. The words of Master Wei echoed in her mind. January is a month of renewal and introspection. It is a time to reflect and prepare for what is to come. She took a deep breath, allowing the tranquility of the environment to envelop her. "I need to understand myself better," she thought. "My role as a healer must align with my true self. What am I hiding from myself?" As she contemplated, she remembered an old journal her grandmother had left behind, a journal that contained stories and teachings of past healers. Perhaps it's time to revisit that legacy, she decided. I need to learn from those who came before me. With this new determination, Mei stood up, her heart pulsating with a new energy. The journey of self-discovery that now lay before her seemed promising, and the desire to understand herself would guide her in the coming weeks. Throughout that day, the paths of Lin, Zhang, and Mei intertwined, each in search of their own truths, each battling their own barriers. Lin dedicated herself to her art, Zhang continued his relentless pursuit of power, and Mei sought self-discovery in nature. The village, rejuvenating under the watchful eye of Master Wei, was becoming a stage for transformation, and what the future held for them was anyone's guess. Hours passed quickly, but the echo of reflections was just beginning. The connection between their destinies was about to intensify, and the wisdom they sought, although still distant, was on the verge of revelation. I was sitting in the shade of a leafy tree, the gentle breeze caressing my face as I waited for Mei. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating dancing patterns on the ground. The idea of discussing what we heard from Master Wei excited me and made me a bit nervous. What I had discovered about my birthday month was still fresh in my mind. When Mei arrived, her gaze expressed a mix of curiosity and introspection. She sat beside me, and for a moment we both enjoyed the silence of our surroundings. The birds' songs and the rustling leaves created a tranquil soundtrack. Lin, Mei began, breaking the silence. What did you think of Master Wei's words about your month? I took a deep breath, recalling the wise man's words. He spoke of creativity and freedom. I felt that, in some way, it echoed within me. I have always sought ways to express what I feel, but I never thought that this could be linked to my birthday month. And you? What did he say about January? Mei looked toward the horizon, as if trying to decipher her own thoughts. He mentioned that January represents renewal and introspection, To me, that made perfect sense. I have always been someone who reflects on their actions and what can be improved. I feel that in this month, I have the opportunity to start over, to reconnect with nature and with my essence. Wow, I said, admiring the depth of her reflection. That is so beautiful, May. You have always had that connection with the world around you. It's as if nature is an extension of you. She smiled, a sparkle in her eyes. And you, Lynn? How do you plan to use that creativity Master Wei mentioned? I don't know yet, I replied, biting my lower lip. Sometimes I feel that my paintings do not convey what I truly want to express. I want them to speak of freedom, of everything that is within me, but with each brushstroke it feels like I lose myself a little. Maybe you need to allow yourself to be freer in your art, May suggested. Sometimes the blockages come from the pressure we place on ourselves. What do you really want to express? I want to show the beauty of life, even in the small things, I confessed, like the sunlight on someone's face or the dance of the leaves in the wind. But when I look at the canvas, I feel like I can't capture that. Maybe you need to experiment more, May said, her voice gentle. Let your emotions flow without fear of judgment. Art is a form of freedom, not a prison. You have so much wisdom, May, I complimented her. Sometimes I wonder if I'm really capable of creating something that resonates with others. You are more capable than you think, Lynn. You just need to trust yourself, she said, with an encouraging smile. And remember, beauty lies in imperfection. As we talked, I noticed the sun beginning to set, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. The beauty of the moment inspired me. Maybe I should put aside the fear and allow myself to experiment more freely. What do you think about joining me for a painting session tomorrow? We could lose ourselves in colors and brushstrokes. May smiled brightly. I would love to. Let's create something together, something that represents our souls. Before we could continue our conversation, we heard voices approaching. It was Zhang with his skeptical look and determined expression. As he approached, I could feel the tension in the air. Something told me he was not there just to chat. Lynn, May, he began, his voice firm. I heard you talking about Master Wei and his teachings. Honestly, I can't believe any of it has real value. What he says about birthday months is just superstition. May stared at him, calm but with a hint of curiosity. Zhang, do you really not see the value in understanding yourself better? What Master Wei said could be a way for you to look at yourself. Looking at yourself won't bring money or power, he replied dismissively. Those are the things that really matter. You two are wasting your time with empty philosophies. I felt unsettled by the coldness of his words. Zhang, we're not talking about money. We're seeking a deeper understanding of ourselves. Life isn't just about material possessions. Maybe you should listen to what Master Wei really said, Zhang insisted, crossing his arms. He talked about Lin's freedom and creativity, but what about ambition? What did he say about that? Ambition is important, yes, May intervened, but it shouldn't be the only force that guides us. There's something more we need to understand about our lives and choices. Looking inward can help us find balance. Zhang scoffed, clearly impatient. I don't have time for this conversation. I'm going to confront Master Wei. He needs to be questioned about these ideas he's spreading. I can't accept that an old wise man comes to tell us how we should live. Zhang, don't do that, I pleaded. But he had already turned, marching toward the master's house. The tension in the air was palpable, and I wondered if he was ready for the answers he might receive. After Zhang left, May gave me a worried look. He is so caught up in his ambition that he can't see beyond it. I worry about what he might do. I do too, I replied, feeling a tightening in my heart. What Master Wei said may be difficult to accept, but we cannot force Zhang to understand. Each person has their own path. That's true, May agreed. But I hope he finds the wisdom he needs. Sometimes you have to lose yourself a little to truly find yourself. The twilight now enveloped the village in a cloak of soft shadows, and I knew the day was coming to an end. Whatever happened next, I was determined to explore my own creativity and freedom, embracing what my birthday month meant to me. And who knows, if Zhang were a bit lucky, he might find his way back to himself as well. The sun began to set, tinting the sky with golden and orange hues as I walked through the village, reflecting on Master Wei's words. The lecture had affected me in a way I hadn't expected. Looking around, I saw Zhang, who usually wore a proud expression, now lost in thought. He didn't seem like the same ambitious man I knew. I was curious about what might be going through his mind. I approached him. "Zhang, are you okay? You seem distant." He turned to me, his confused gaze fixing on me. "Ah, Lin, I was just thinking. What Master Wei said. It's complicated, isn't it? He talks about acceptance, but how can I accept when the world demands that I fight for every penny? But what if the struggle isn't all there is to life? What do you think really matters?" I asked, trying to provoke him to think more deeply. Zhang let out a sigh, almost as if his ambition was weighing on his shoulders. "I don't know, maybe I've lost my way. I always thought that accumulating wealth would bring me happiness, but now I'm not so sure." I decided to give him some time to process his emotions and said goodbye, walking toward the lake. I needed a moment for myself. The water reflected the vibrant colors of the sky, and as I looked at it, I felt a wave of inspiration. Art had always been my refuge, and I realized I could use this moment to create something meaningful. After a few minutes, my mind began to flow with ideas. What if I held an exhibition in the village, a way to inspire people to see the beauty and complexity of life? The thought made me smile. Art could be a bridge between souls, a way to connect people through their experiences and emotions. Determined, I went home and prepared my painting materials. As I mixed the colors, I felt the energy pulsing in my veins. The first canvas would be a representation of the lake itself, but instead of simply capturing the beauty of the landscape, I wanted to express the emotions it evoked in me. I wanted people to see the lake not just as a place, but as a reflection of their own journeys. Night fell and I worked late, lost in a world of colors and shapes. Each brushstroke was a release, a way to explore what was inside me. When I finally looked at the canvas, I realized there was something deeper there, a connection with the people of the village, with their struggles and hopes. The next morning, I decided it was time to share this idea with May. I went to her house, which was surrounded by herbs and plants, a true natural sanctuary. Upon entering, I was greeted by the gentle aroma of dried herbs and the soothing sound of running water from a small fountain May had made. "Lin, it's so good to see you." She smiled, her eyes shining with that special light she always had. "What brings you here?" I sat next to her, eager to tell her about my plan. "May, I want to hold an art exhibition in the village. I feel it's time to inspire people, to show the beauty of their experiences. What do you think?" She seemed thoughtful for a moment. "That's a wonderful idea, Lin. Art has the power to touch the soul and connect people. But how do you plan to do it?" "I want each painting to tell a story, a part of our lives. I want people to see themselves in each piece and feel that they're not alone in their struggles," I explained, full of enthusiasm. May nodded, understanding the depth of what I wanted to do. "You have a big heart, Lin. Art can truly be a channel for healing. I can help you prepare the space and promote the event. What do you think?" "That would be amazing, May. Together we can create something really special," I replied, feeling a wave of gratitude for having such a supportive friend. I left May's house more excited than ever. The day flew by as I worked on my canvases, and as the colors mixed, my anxiety turned into anticipation. The idea of touching people's hearts motivated me even more. Meanwhile, May was also busy preparing the village for the event. She spoke with the residents, encouraging them to participate and share their own stories. The atmosphere in the village began to change. There was a sense of unity and purpose that hadn't existed before. People gathered to help, and soon everyone was excited about the idea of an exhibition. One afternoon, while walking through the forest to seek inspiration, I stumbled upon something unexpected. An old diary, worn by time, was partially buried under the dry leaves. Drawn by curiosity, I knelt down and began to unearth it. When I opened it, the smell of aged paper enveloped me, and the words written there seemed to dance before my eyes. It was the diary of an ancient healer from the village, someone who had lived many generations before me. The pages were filled with stories of her experiences, her lessons, and the challenges she faced. Each account spoke of the connection between nature and the soul, something May always mentioned. How fascinating, I murmured to myself, flipping through the pages. She also had her struggles, her doubts. I lost track of time as I read, absorbing her words. The healer spoke about how healing does not come solely from herbs and potions, but from understanding the pains and joys of life. A passage that touched me deeply said, "To heal others, we must first heal ourselves." True medicine lies in connecting with our own soul. With that, an idea began to blossom in my mind. What if I could incorporate these stories into my exhibition? We could not only showcase the art, but also share the ancient wisdom that still resonated in the village. It was a way to unite the healer's stories with the contemporary experiences of the residents. I decided that alongside each painting, I would place a small quote from the diary. It would be a way to honor the healer's legacy while inviting people to reflect on their own journeys. When I returned home, my mind was racing. The exhibition would not merely be an art presentation. It would be a sacred space where souls could meet, heal, and connect. The excitement of being able to provide this for the village filled me with energy. With May's support and the determination of all the residents, the idea of the exhibition began to take shape. What started as a personal dream was now transforming into a community event that promised to touch lives. I could hardly wait to share all this with Zhang, hoping he too would find new meaning in his life, just as I was trying to do. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky a deep orange, when I decided to start working on my exhibition. May, always kind and attentive, accompanied me to my small studio. The scent of fresh paint and new paper filled the air, but despite the excitement, a shadow of doubt lingered over me. How could I capture what was going on inside me? "Lin, you are very quiet," May commented, watching me amidst brushes and canvases. "What are you thinking?" I took a deep breath, trying to organize my thoughts. I'm trying to understand how to express what I feel. What Master Wei said about our anniversary month. I want that to reflect in my art, but I don't know how to do it. May stepped closer, her brown eyes shining with understanding. Art is an extension of the soul. Sometimes you just need to let it flow. Don't be afraid to expose yourself. And what if no one understands? I asked, my voice trembling. What if they don't see what I see? She smiled, a gentle expression that brought comfort. Don't worry about what others think. What matters is that you are being true to yourself. Each brushstroke can tell a story, even if only you know it. Those words resonated within me. I began to work, dipping the brush into a palette of vibrant colors, trying to bring to life feelings that seemed nebulous in my mind. I remembered the nights when I felt free, dancing under the stars, and also the anguish that troubled me. The colors blended into their own dance, and as I worked, I realized that each layer of paint was a form of release. You are making progress, May praised, watching me. What do you feel now? I feel freedom, but also a certain sadness. It's as if I'm trying to find myself amidst all these emotions. That's good. Sadness and freedom can coexist. Sometimes we need the weight of sadness to appreciate the lightness of freedom. I agreed, feeling more confident. Time passed quickly as I let myself be carried away by colors and shapes. May stayed by my side, offering encouragement and making small observations that helped shape my vision. The next morning, when the sun lit up the village, I was eager to show what I had created. The exhibition's opening was approaching quickly, and the thought of exposing my soul to the village made me nervous, but also excited. The day began to unfold, and the square filled with life. The smell of food being prepared and laughter echoing in the air created a celebratory atmosphere. Zhang, who always seemed more concerned with his trade than anything else, appeared in the distance. I saw him talking to some of the village men, and the expression on his face was one of determination. He was so focused on his goals that he barely noticed the beauty around him. As I arranged the artwork, I saw Zhang approach, his eyes fixed on me. He stopped beside me, observing the canvases. "Did you really do this?" he asked, with a look of surprise. "It's beautiful." I was a bit taken aback by the sincerity in his voice. "Thank you, Zhang. I really tried to put a bit of my soul into each painting. I'm not very good at art, but..." He hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "It's interesting to see someone so passionate about something like this. You have your passions too," I replied, trying to open up space for a deeper conversation. "What are you really seeking, Zhang?" He frowned, clearly uncomfortable with the question. "What am I seeking? Success, wealth, what more could one want? But does that bring happiness?" I questioned, my heart racing. "Have you ever stopped to think if that really makes you happy?" Zhang looked down, the expression on his face changing. I'd never thought about it. I always believed that if I had more, I would be happier. Sometimes what we need is not more, but less. Less ambition, less haste. He looked at me, a mix of confusion and curiosity in his eyes. "Do you really believe that?" "I believe so," I confirmed, a gentle smile forming on my lips. Art taught me this. Through it, I learned to appreciate the simple moments and the beauty that surrounds us. Zhang seemed to reflect on that, and I didn't know if he was starting to understand or just getting lost even more in his thoughts. Deep down, I wished he could see how much richer life is than just material possessions. The inauguration began, and I felt enveloped by the energy of the villagers. The laughter and curious glances were like a symphony that nourished my soul. When the moment came to reveal my most significant painting, my palms were sweaty and my heart raced. "This is my journey," I declared, pointing to the canvas. "It is the representation of how I feel about my birthday month. April, the month of renewal and freedom, full of colors and emotions." The gazes were fixed on the painting. It was an explosion of colors depicting a dancer under the moonlight, surrounded by flowers and stars. I had poured everything into it, each stroke and shadow telling the story of the quest for freedom and self-discovery. "It's incredible," a woman next to me whispered, her eyes shining with admiration. "I have never seen anything like this," a man said, nodding in approval. Zhang approached, his eyes locked on the painting. A silence hung between us, and I could see that something had changed in him. The colors danced in his mind, and in his gaze there was a new understanding. "You really made me think, Lin," he finally said, his voice softer. "Perhaps I have lost sight of what really matters. Life is about the connections we make, about the moments we share, not about what we own," I replied, my heart warmed by the empathy I felt for him. And so, as the night unfolded, the atmosphere was one of transformation. Art, in its purest form, had begun to open Zhang's eyes, and I felt that somehow we were all on the right path to finding each other, to understanding each other, and maybe even to redeeming ourselves. The journey was just beginning, and I was ready for whatever came next. The atmosphere in the village was vibrant on that night of the exhibition's inauguration. The paper lanterns danced softly with the breeze, illuminating the eager faces of the villagers gathering to see Lin's works. I felt nervous, but also excited. The painting I had created, a vivid representation of my inner journey, was about to be revealed. Zhang and Mei were by my side, and the energy between us was palpable. When Master Wei entered the exhibition space, a wave of reverence swept through the crowd. He had the gift of making everyone feel seen, as if their souls were exposed under his wise gaze. With a serene gesture, he asked for silence and began to speak. Dear friends, today we celebrate not only art, but the deep connection we have with each other and with the universe, he began, his voice soft but firm. Each of you, just like Lin's painting, is a masterpiece in constant evolution. We are here to reflect on our choices, our motivations, and above all, on what we seek in our lives. I listened attentively, feeling a lump form in my throat. Master Wei's words resonated deeply in my heart. He continued, "Life is a mirror that reflects what we have inside. Through our art, our relationships, and even the challenges we face, we are invited to look within and discover who we really are." Zhang, who until then seemed so distant, began to absorb the master's words. I watched him, noticing a change in his expression. He was so accustomed to seeking success and material recognition that at that moment he seemed to be questioning if there was something more he could achieve. Mei, beside me, smiled as she listened to Master Wei. "What do you think this means for us, Lin?" she asked, her soft voice breaking the reflective silence that surrounded us. "I think he is reminding us that our lives are more than just our ambitions or what we show the world. It has to do with our essence, with our truth," I replied, still looking at Zhang, who now seemed lost in his thoughts. The atmosphere was charged with emotion, and I could feel the growing connection between all of us. It was as if, in that moment, our souls were intertwined, sharing a deep understanding. Master Wei, sensing the intensity in the air, smiled and added, "Art is a way to express what is within us. Lin, you had the courage to expose your soul through your brushstrokes. And everyone here has their own stories to tell. Remember, true beauty lies in authenticity." As he finished, applause erupted in the space, and I felt a bit more confident. Zhang approached and looked at me. "Lin, your painting is amazing. I really didn't expect something like this to touch my soul so much." "Thank you, Zhang. That means a lot to me. I hope you can see beyond material things and find what truly matters," I replied, wishing he could feel the depth of that truth. But as the night went on, the sky began to fill with dark clouds. The conversation and laughter were interrupted by a strong wind that shook the lanterns. "It looks like a storm is forming," Mei commented, her expression worried. In an instant, the sky lit up with a flash, and a thunderclap echoed through the village, causing everyone to look up in fright. The sound of rain began to drum on the roof, and people started to seek shelter. The atmosphere that was once celebratory was now filled with tension. "Let's go to the tree," Zhang shouted, pointing to a large tree nearby in the square. "We can protect ourselves there until the storm passes." We quickly headed toward the tree, but as soon as we arrived, a lightning bolt struck the trunk, creating a flash that blinded us. When the light dissipated, we realized that a large block of stone had been revealed, hidden under the tree's root. I looked at Mei and Zhang, my eyes wide with surprise. "What was happening? Look at this!" Mei exclaimed as she crouched down to examine the stone. "There's something written here." We leaned in closer, and the inscription became legible as the storm's light illuminated the space. The words were ancient, but their messages were clear. Those who failed to learn their lessons in past lives will return to this place, where time meets eternity, to seek redemption. I felt a chill run down my spine. Does this Does this mean we are those souls? I asked, my voice trembling, that we didn't learn what we needed in our past lives? Zhang looked at us, his eyes reflecting a mix of fear and understanding. Maybe that's why we're here, because of our birth months. Each of us was given a chance to learn and grow. May nodded, her eyes shining with newfound determination. We need to understand what this means for us. What do we have to learn? What did we fail to do in our past lives? The sound of the storm became a distant backdrop as we focused on the enormity of the revelation. I felt a calling within me, a deep desire to understand my own story and what it meant to be an artist, a dreamer. Zhang, in turn, seemed to be confronting his ambitions with a new perspective, and May was seeking her essence as a healer. We must commit to seeking this truth, Zhang said, his voice now firm. If we are reincarnations of souls who failed, then we have the chance to correct our mistakes and find our true purpose. My eyes filled with tears as I looked at them. Together we were more than just individuals. We were part of something much larger. The storm roared around us, but inside me, a new light was beginning to shine. I knew that the journey of self-discovery was just beginning, and I was ready to face it with an open heart, alongside May and Zhang. Let's support each other then, I said, my voice full of determination. Let's discover our lessons and learn to be who we truly are. And so, under the unfolding storm, we made a silent pact, united by a destiny that now seemed clear. Life, with all its complexities and challenges, was a journey of self-discovery, and together we were ready to move forward. Now let's take a brief reflection. Throughout this story, we saw how Master Wei's words touched the hearts of the village, provoking deep reflections. Each character, with their doubts and challenges, showed us that the search for true purpose is universal. What did we learn from Lin, Zhang, and May? That external success without internal understanding does not bring us the peace we seek. Art, connection with nature, and ancestral wisdom are reminders that the value of life goes far beyond material possessions. And you, what lesson do you take from this story? Share with us in the comments. We would love to know how this journey resonated with you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment on what you thought of the story. We have many more beautiful and surprising stories waiting for you. Watch the next videos. You will be amazed. Until the next video,